Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to paint this simple watermelon pattern. It's fun, it's summery, and it's pretty easy. So let's get started. Okay, so first things first, we're going to mix our colors. We're going to mix a few different shades of pinks and greens. I will link the palette I'm using down below. But what I have going so far here is I'm just mixing this bright green now. And I've already mixed a red that kind of leans more towards the bright pink side. So once you have your red and green picked out that you'd like for the melon and the rind, we're going to make a darker version of that green. So just add a darker green to it, and there we go. And that'll be for the very outside edge of the rind. And then go back to the first green we mixed and use that as your base again and make a brighter yellowish version of that. That's going to go right between the bulk of the rind and the pink part of the melon. So I like it to be a little bit lighter between there. I think that's kind of the look of a real melon. A little more yellow, a little bit lighter. It's going to be really pretty washed out when I use this one. I think that's good. And then we're going to take that main pink color and make a darker version of it mixed with more red. I kind of mixed two versions of that pink, so one that's a little bit darker and one that's a lot more reddish, because I want to add a little bit more variation in the color of the watermelon right around the edge. And I'm also going to mix a dark brown, black, whatever you feel like watermelon seeds look like. Mine is basically black. And then those are the colors we're going to use. As you can see, I've already traced out the outline of where my slices are going to go. I just wanted to go for kind of a scattered pattern because I feel like it's easy to repeat it into a bigger pattern if you want, or change up the style of slices. It can be pretty versatile. So I'm going to erase the light lines I've made first. I always sketch out my painting very lightly before I start, and then erase it just beforehand so that I have all the lines in my memory so I know where everything's going. Just be careful to go super light on the sketching and erasing so you don't want to wear down the paper at all before you start painting on it. And this is the brush I'm using today, a Princeton Elite size 12. I will link that below with my other supplies. And now we're going to just get started with our water. So dip your brush in some water and then trace out the basic shape of that first slice. I would suggest starting right at the top because you don't want to start painting at the bottom, and then when you do your next slices above that, run the risk of smearing what you've already done. And then grab a really light wash of that main pink color. So I'm going to add even a little bit more water to my brush and take that and just put it over top of where you've added your water to the page. And it's going to flow together really nicely and bleed into that water that we've added there. And then take a little bit of that darker red. I'm not taking the darkest one yet, just that middle one, and add it right to the outside edge. And it will kind of start to run together. Now we can move it around a little bit, but the nice thing about watercolor is that as you let it sit, it will really start doing some awesome things and mixing together, and the two colors will kind of blend on their own. So it's nice to let it sit for a bit and just kind of see what it becomes. And then we're going to take the green and start doing that outside edge, the rind. So just put it around the outside of that pink. Careful not to mix it together too much. And then take that yellower color and put a tiny little line between the two. And then take your darkest green and draw a very fine line around the outside of the whole rind, just to create even a little bit more definition on that edge. There we go. Now I'm going to dry off my brush when I'm done this and go and pick up a little bit of that green between the rind and the pink to get that little bit of white that the melon has where those two meet. It makes it a little bit more realistic. There we go. Okay, I think that looks pretty good for our first slice, so I'm going to start aligning the second one in water beside it. So I've watered down my brush and I still have a tiny bit of color left on it, which kind of helps because I can see better where I'm aligning it on the page. Just thinking I should have probably painted this one first, so I'm not drawing or painting over top of my first slice. Anyways, let's take our main pink and sweep it over the bulk of that wedge, and then take that middle red again and put it right at the tip to create a little bit of more saturated dark color there. A little bit of water to help it mix together, and then let's take our green and do the rind. There we go. Maybe clean off your brush a little bit better than I have. And gonna add that yellow in between. I'm gonna try to add a little bit less this time so I don't have to go back and pick up as much of it after. And then the dark green to go around that very outside edge as well. A little bit more. I am definitely going to have to mix more of this. Should have probably mixed quite a bit more of these colors, but it's okay to do it as you go along. Hopefully you have more of a steady hand than I do. I have 2 young kids at home and I drink a lot of coffee during the day, so I don't always have the most stable hands, but paintings still turn out looking okay. Pretty much anyone can do watercolor. And then just pick up a little bit more of that yellow there. Okay, see, get quicker the more we do it. Let's trace out our next slice. This one I decided to do kind of a bite taken out of it, just for some variety. All right, take that pink. Okay, so let's sweep that over, and you know the drill. Go in with the darker one afterwards and put that on the edge. Since this one has a big bite taken out of it, I'm probably going to put some of that darkest red right at the tip as well. But we'll go in with that middle one first, add some of that and let it all bleed together. And then some of that darkest one right at the very edge. I don't want to mess around with it too much. I'm going to let that run together and do its own thing. And a bit of that yellowish color, a little bit more. And since I'm using so little and my brush is pretty dry, it's also picking up a bit of color as I go and just creating a very slight hint of yellow there, which I think works pretty well. And more of that dark green. Oh, a little bit more of that. Okay, dry my brush off and pick up a bit of that green. I feel like I've got a ton of that going on here. I don't want it to run into the slice too much. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just smooth the edge out a little bit there. Now I'm just gonna clean out my water here. It's getting pretty murky. Okay, so let's start tracing out our next slice now. Get some water. I keep saying tracing out, you know what I mean. Wet the page in the outline of our next slice and try to make sure we have enough of the colors we're gonna need so that you don't have to keep going back and mixing more like I have. I'm gonna make some more of that. Whoa, that turned out super pink. That looks pretty cool actually. I'm gonna mix some more of my colors here. Great. So let's get started on this one. And then get our pink. Oh gosh. Okay, having a bit of trouble matching this shade. That looks about right. Just gonna water it down a bunch as I go. And now my water's pink. Good thing I cleaned it. It didn't last very long. Okay, well, looks like a nice refreshing drink. Don't drink your paint water. Don't pay attention to me. All right, so let's add the pink. I think this is gonna be a bite slice. I believe that's what I had traced out here. And then take that middle red and put it right on the outside edge. Wash that out a bit so they can blend nicely together. And my pink's running a little bit into the rind. What we want there is green. So let's pick up that green and throw it down there before that pink takes over. There we go. Okay. Pick up a little bit of that color between. I'm trying to put a tiny bit of this yellowish green in there, but they're kind of all running together a bit in this one. And go in with that darker color again, right at the tip of where the bite marks are. All right, smooth it out, and there we go. We're getting pretty good at this now, hey? It's pretty simple technique to repeat, and I think that you could easily paint a full page of these and it would be super quick and fun, and you just get better at it the more you do them. I love painting watermelons. I do it all the time for fun. I can't even tell you how many of these these prints I have lying around of different watermelon slices. They're good for so many things. Even if you want to just make a little print to brighten up your kitchen, or a nice card, or paint your own slices on a barbecue invite. They're so fun. And now let's go start making the next one. Oh, what happened here? Okay, hold up. My water is, I don't know how I got black. Maybe that's the dark green that was on my brush. We're just going to mop this up while it's still wet. Paper towel is like an eraser in watercolor. Sometimes it doesn't remove color, but it can help take away some water and lift some of the color if you've made a oops, like I just did. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Can really tell my water's getting murkier as I go along. So it'll be fine though. I mean, this color's pretty vibrant. It's going to cover it up nicely. Yeah, okay. So let's go add that in. And we're just going to repeat the exact same pattern for this slice. So pink wash and a little bit of darker pink at the tip and the edge, and then add the rind. All right. That pink is really creeping into my rind here. So I'm just going to push it back a little bit to give myself a second to catch up. Oh, okay, a little bit too much. If you put too much on there, just dry your brush and suck up the color you don't want before it runs together. Okay, I think we're ready to go on to this next slice now. So this one is just another plain triangle wedge. Ooh, not leaving much room for my yellow there. Let me pick some of that up with a dry brush. Made a little bit of space for the yellow. Okay, so just a little bit of that dark green on the outside now. And then I think we're just about done this. Actually, we're almost done the whole thing. This is our second to last slice. Our next one's going to be one of those, like the first one we painted, one of the half moon style slices, just so we have a little bit of each kind. And I think that pretty much looks good. Just going to take a dry brush and pick up some of that color between again. Yeah, I don't want to pick at it too much, so you don't want to wear down the paper. Okay. So let's get started tracing out that last guy over here. So just make that half moon shape. And same basic technique as the others. We're gonna take our main red pink color and put it over top of the whole slice. Add a little bit of that darker color to the edge. A little bit more water to help it move around. Then the rind on the outside, and just picking up a little bit of that pink. I feel like it's overflowing, getting a little bit messy. Okay, ready for the green here. And then that green around the outside edge. And this is basically the last step. Next thing we're going to do to finish this all off is going to be adding the seeds. I actually think I want a little bit more of this dark green around the edges. Okay, I'm going to take a smaller brush and do some dark green around the very outside edge of everything. Just a really tiny brush. Just to give it some more dimension. I feel like it would pop a little bit more. Let's see. Now let's get our pencil and put those seeds on. I'm always terrible at making decisions like this, abstract things. How many seeds on one slice? Where should they go? I don't know. Just put them wherever feels natural. I don't think Mother Nature spends that much time planning out where all the seeds go, so we'll be fine. Just add maybe one extra on the bigger slices. And now we can go with our teeny tiny little paintbrush. This, I don't even know what kind this is. It's just like a tiny dollar store brush or one that came in a value pack or something. But just whatever tiniest brush you have. And do little teardrop shapes for the seeds. Unless you want to do seedless melon, I guess you could always do it without the seeds. And then you would just stop before this point. But I feel like it adds a nice finishing touch. There. And we'll just finish painting over all these and then be all done. Ugh, I think I made this seed a little bit too big. While it's still wet, sometimes you can save it by just adding some water and going over it and then mopping it up with a paper towel, but I would really avoid doing that if possible. It doesn't always turn out well, especially when the paint isn't so light. You can really pick up some of your pigment, but I think I got away with it there. I mean, I'm not a professional, right? So I do make a lot of little mistakes, but try not to take it too seriously. It's just about having fun and enjoying yourself. I think that turned out pretty well though. I hope that you had fun painting these, and I look forward to hearing what you've decided to create with yours. Until next time, thank you again for watching, and I can't wait to see you back here. Bye!